A boy contracted the disease from a contaminated blood product that was supposed to help his condition.
I'm Mitch Truswell now, here to introduce us to the family in part 3 of his special series called Blood Betrayal.
The parents of Edward Hannafant were concerned in the early 80s about the articles they saw in the newspaper about AIDS. There were questions then about how this could affect the nation's blood supply, and that the Hannafants knew might affect their hemophiliac son. But that's not what their doctors told them.
Well, what about this stuff I'm reading in the newspaper about this disease, this blood disease and this? And the doctor said to me, well, that's not something you'll have to worry about.
The Hannafant family didn't begin to worry until Edward III turned 3 years old. It began with an infection doctors couldn't cure, but it became frightfully clear in 1986 when Edward, a hemophiliac, was diagnosed HIV positive.
We lived in Monterey, we were up in San Francisco, and they just said, you know, your son's got this virus. And then that was it, and the doctor was gone in 5 minutes, and we were left alone with that news for a long, long time.
It was supposed to be a picture of me. And that was shoelaces.
Edward is now 10, and like most boys, he enjoys sports, friends, video games, comics, and Ritz crackers. He wasn't real talkative the day we visited. His dad tells us Edward has a normal childhood and lots of friends.
The brontosaurus, they look like retards. They go, ooh.
But the fun of being young is being interrupted much more often these days because of AIDS. 4 times a day, 5 days a week, 45 pills a day he takes to keep himself healthy.
Edward is just a kid, you know, and he does pretty well with everything. He just wants to have fun and play his games and just ride his bike and be with his friends. But, you know, his mother and father are, you know, having a tough time with this.
Tough because the Hannafants believe it could have been prevented had someone
knew about this disease and that they would be taking every single precaution to make sure that nobody else got infected or to prevent the spread of it.
Just up and see.
Up and see.
Up and see. Back up.
Go back.
Now,
Go to the barrel.
Edward's father does what he can to keep his son happy and positive. He tries hard not to look into the future and what that will likely bring. It's easiest to live and cope day by day.
I don't want to be compensated. You know, there's no way that they can compensate me for what they've already done to me. There's no way anybody could. You know, I'd like them to try and make it right, to try and to do something about this AIDS dilemma.
There are many other hemophiliacs and their families who do want compensation for the tragedy that has ruined their lives, but there are strict liability laws concerning blood and blood products, and we'll have more on that tomorrow night.
The series concludes tomorrow night, Mitch.
That's
part
right.
4.